Hey guys, welcome back to the Bootleg Cycle YouTube channel. Today we have part one of our champion sidecar build. This great big box here on my left, right there, has got the champion sidecar in it, and it's going on this bike right here. And this bike is a 2003 Harley Davidson Ultra Classic. It's the anniversary edition. And today on part one, we're going to be putting in the champion reverse gear. And this is a gear driven reverse right on the transmission. We're going to be adding a couple gears to the transmission, and there'll be a shift lever to put it down into reverse. Let's open up our box here from Champion, and I'll show you what we got for reverse gear. Yep. Okay, underneath all this bubble wrap, the first thing we're going to pull out is the actual reverse gear. It's basically a replacement for the transmission door on the end of the transmission. We're going to be adding two gears to the ends of the shaft of the transmission, and then there's another gear on the end of that lever that engages those two gears together and makes the bike go backward. Okay, and here we got some instructions, the gaskets, and a warranty card. And the last little bit here is just a bag with all the hardware in it, the gears, Loctite, shims, everything else you need to put the bike or put the reverse in the bike. All right. First steps, get this bike up in the air. We're going to get this exhaust off so we can get to the transmission door. The first thing we're going to have to do is trim this rod that goes through and holds the shift forks in. On the Champion gear, it needs to be a little shorter because this shaft does not go all the way through like it does on the OE stuff. You can't pull the shaft all the way out because it's holding the shift forks in place. If you pull it all the way out, you're going to have to go back into the top of the transmission and put all the shift forks back in. But you can pull it out a little bit, enough to cut it. Just mark it flush with the case, pull it out, a quarter inch or so, cut it, grind it, make sure it's nice and flush with the side, with the edge of the case, because the new new Champion transmission door is going to butt up right tight to that. So grind it and make sure it's flush. And once that's done, you pull that rag out of the way and clean all the gears up. We're going to take a piece of red Scotch-Brite that comes with the kit and clean the ends of these shafts really well, because that's where the new gears are going to attach, and we got to have good adhesion. So we're going to take some Scotch-Brite and clean these up really nice. Alright guys, now that we got these shafts all cleaned up and sprayed down, we're going to go ahead and let all that brake clean evaporate off. And while we're doing that, we're going to get our gears out of the bag and start getting them prepped and ready to go on. Don't forget guys, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button at the end. The subscription really helps us out and lets us know you like what we're doing, and lets us know what kind of content you want to see. And if you want to see something else, pop it in the comments on what you guys want to see, and we'll see if we can't make that happen. Now this new gear has got a matched tapered ring that goes on the inside, and they both need to be scrubbed up with Scotch-Brite and hit with brake clean to get all the grit off of them. Those also are going to get green Loctite to hold them in place, and then that tapered shaft is the mechanical attachment. The kit comes with a tool designed to seat those tapered rings. There's instructions, tells you what torque to put them at. Pretty straightforward. Just got to get everything real clean so this Loctite will stick. Now Loctite's going to go inside and outside of the tapered ring. It's going to go inside the gear and on the shaft, pretty much on all the surfaces. So the gear is going to go on, and then this tapered ring is going to slide in from the outside, and then the tool is going to go on and push that ring down inside of the gear, and Champion has a torque spec for that. Okay, once you get to your torque spec, just go ahead and remove the tool and clean all the green Loctite off the tool. And you need to clean all the green Loctite out of the inside of the gear that's squeezed out, because we got a nut that goes on there later that holds that tapered ring tight in there. And there's threads in there that's going to have to thread onto. So clean all that excess Loctite out. And there's also a measurement to make sure that the ring is in far enough. You see me just do that. And then just do it again on the rear shaft. Alright, now that we got both the new gears on, we're going to go ahead and install the Champion reverse gear. It comes with a new gasket. One of my dowel pins came out in the old transmission door, so I gotta go pull that out, get that back into the transmission. Get this gasket out of the way. Tap this in. Oh, bigger hammer. There we go. Get that all the way in. Alright, new gasket. And the new Champion reverse gear. Make sure this gets seated down all the way onto the dowel pins. We've even got a tap on it with the rubber mallet. Make sure it's seated in there nice and flush and tight to the case. You don't want to be pulling that in there with the bolts. Those gears that we put in ride in two bearings that are on the outside of this case. And just bolt it back up, muffler bracket, everything that came off the old door gets reused. Just get all this tightened up, seated in there nice. Okay, the next thing we have to do is put the new nuts onto the shaft, and these have shims behind them that go in and push on that tapered ring that we put in earlier to make sure that stays in there nice and tight. So you got to do a measurement. There's a cutout on the top of the door where that goes in, and you can put some shims in, torque that nut down, do your measurement, and make sure that the torque is going to be correct on those rings, because that's what holds those gears on, so it's really important. Okay, here you're going to see me start checking the measurement on this. You put the shims in, the starter pack of shims, put the nut on, torque it, and then the kit comes with the 10 thousandths feeler gauge that's real skinny, that'll fit down in there. So you check it, if it's too tight, pull the nut back out, add another shim, put it back in, torque it back down, check your gauge. If it's still too tight, add another shim, and you just keep going like that until you can get between 10 and 20 thousandths of space there. That means that you got pressure going in and hitting that tapered ring. Just keep after it until you get the right measurement. Okay, once you got your measurement right, you're gonna pull this out one more time, get it all cleaned up. And the kit comes with 2 nylon locking screws that screw into the side of the nut and come out into the threads to help lock it in place. Once you thread it in, it'll cut into those nylon locking screws. You're also gonna put red Loctite in there to lock it in place. Get it cleaned up, get your nylon screws in, red Loctite, thread her back in, torque it down, and then just move on to the rear shaft and do it all over again. All right, once you got both nuts in, you need to modify the push rod for the clutch push rod. You need to take the oil slinger off and put it in the lathe or the grinder and take it down to 5/8 of an inch so it'll fit inside that nut. And then once you get that fitting right and your throwout bearings put back on, put your balls and ramps back into your transmission cover, get your cable hooked back up, don't drop your gasket in the oil, and then bolt the cover back on. All right, now we got our cover back on. That's going to complete our install on the reverse gear. We're going to let this set up overnight before we put transmission fluid back in it. We're going to bolt on a few pieces of exhaust before we start putting on the brackets for the sidecar. All that's going to be in part 2 of the video. Make sure you come back and check that out, and we will show you what is in this great big box. And we will get that installed on the bike and take it out and test on it. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe at the end. And we'll see you next time.